今儿请到了 Mathieson， 也就是前两天比布阿点那个房子的设计师，给大家讲一讲最近我觉得比较困惑或大家不太清晰的几个问题，主要围绕着 Woollahra Council、Double Bay、Bellevue Hill、Rose Bay、Vaucluse 这些房子新的容积率和这规定下能建多大，然后聊聊他对这些的一些看法、影响等等。那话不多说，我们接下来就听听他的看法。
It's actually quite a complicated calculation they have at the moment, which they call a floor plate kind of calculation, which determines how much floor area you can build on a site. It's partly determined by the setbacks, and the proposal is to change it just to a blanket floor space ratio, which will have an impact on a variety of sites across Woollahra.
Okay, so what is the FSR now?
For most houses, it's going to be 0.5 to 1. Just to give you an example, we worked on a project that got approved earlier this year that obviously was under the old system with the floor plate, and that site was roughly about 630 square metres, and I think the floor plate that we were allowed to have was about 430 square metres, which is actually probably about 0.68 to 1 floor space ratio. So obviously 0.5 would be quite a significant drop. I think it's roughly about a 30% drop in what you could achieve in floor area. I suspect, we'll always be trying to focus on like really big, impressive living spaces, things that are really usable, but it just might mean that we've got to be more efficient in how you do with back of house things like laundries and sculleries, so that you're not wasting floor area on areas that aren't that important. And probably just also, and every site's just different, but it's like whether there's things that are below ground that are approvable, which can not count towards your floor area. Those kinds of things are going to be important, and just the way that you design those things to be clever about. I always think that a really good living space is worth more than just an extra bedroom for an extra bedroom's sake. It's much better to have 3 amazing bedrooms and an amazing living space than trying to squeeze in a 4th bedroom and sacrifice the quality of the spaces that you get with a 3-bedroom house. I definitely think that, which I think is already the case, but I think it'll probably make that even more so, that where there's kind of larger houses that exist already, I think there's a lot of value in those, because essentially you'd never be able to get the same floor area approved in the future. So starting off with a larger built house and working with that as the kind of bones for a new house or alterations, additions, definitely has a lot of value to it. The pros is definitely you get that larger house, or you're not giving up the size of what the existing house has. But that's definitely probably the biggest benefit to it. Probably the downsides can be a little bit tricky. It really, again, depends on what the existing house is, but sometimes you might be a bit challenged with existing ceiling heights and things like that. And again, just going through that process, just being clever about when you can adjust floor levels, but still keep the thing classified as alterations and additions.
Okay, so obviously we know the building price gone off the roof. So from your understanding at the moment, with a tier 1 architect, how much does it cost to build or renovate per square metre now?
It's a bit of a moving target.
Yeah.
It's really moved rapidly in the last 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
But right now, it's probably, as a rough guide, I'd say about $14,000 a square metre for a new build.
Is that bling bling or okay standard?
I wouldn't say it was necessarily bling bling, but that's a high quality house, and any of the projects on our website would be probably achievable for around that figure.
And renovations?
Renovations, look, that's a really hard one, because it really just depends on the scope of the renovation. And like we're talking about before, if you're doing alterations and additions, sometimes it actually ends up costing you more to. That's again one of the downsides to alterations and additions is, even though you're trying to hang on to the extra floor space, sometimes to do that you actually end up having to spend more money keeping existing structure rather than just knocking down and starting from scratch. I think it's definitely, we had a situation 12 months ago where, you just kept going up and you didn't know where it was going to stop. I think that's definitely has kind of hit a peak and is probably coming off the boil. I don't think that necessarily be a huge dramatic drop in construction costs, but I do expect that it'll probably come off a little bit from where it was, 6-12 months ago.
Yeah.
I think people are being a bit smart about how they spend their money, or a little bit more careful. I think it's always going to be people in the kind of part of the market that we work in who the kind of ups and downs don't really affect their kind of investments. And I think on the other hand, we're finding there's some people talking about getting into DAs and approvals now, so that when the construction costs come off the kind of peak, that they can kind of pick up on the upswing for
How
themselves.
long is DAs available for? 5 years or?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
We've been involved in the project on Tivoli Avenue, which, you know, some amazing views. It's like one of those things a little bit tucked off New South Head Road, and it's not something that people are fully aware of, but the views from up there are just amazing down the harbour. Probably, I mean, just that whole strip along there, like, you know, Vaucluse Road and that amazing view up the harbour. I mean, you kind of always, it's a bit of a catch-22. You're kind of copped with that western sun, but the view there on a great day in Sydney is unbelievable. I think another great street there, again, for the views is probably March Street. And I think it's just that thing, it's right on kind of the ridge of Bellevue Hill. And again, it's one of those interesting things when you're driving around, you're not fully aware of how high up you are. And when you get onto some of those properties and the views across down onto the harbour are amazing. I guess just some landmark things for our office. There was a project we probably did a bit over 10 years ago now in Bondi on Notts Avenue opposite Icebergs. Really, really small, narrow site, but amazing spot and, you know, beautiful details and finishes. And then similarly to that project we did on the other side of the harbour in Balmoral, big house there on Coronation Avenue. Yeah, that was really enjoyable to work on, kind of that real meld of the interiors and the architecture and the landscape. Was super successful, and yeah, we loved working on that one. Look, we're always available for great new projects. It's always good to have a new favourite to work on, so yeah, we'll always squeeze in a really exciting project.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
跟 Phil 聊下来最大的感受就是新的规划确实会对房子影响蛮大的，因为这个室内面积一下差出20-30%不是小数目。当然了，他也私下提了，就是先 DA 批下来之后，在4.55多做几个，慢慢的再加面积，慢慢往上蹭，也还是能做。但是你上来基础已经比人差了20-30%了，再怎么蹭也回不到以前规划的面积了。他说现在这个方案还在 proposal 之中，虽然随时都可能批，但是现在还是可以争取让快点 DA 看看能不能按老规划走。那这个 DA 下来了，那边一旦改的话，也会对这块地有很好的增值。不管怎么样，找个好的设计师绝对是至关重要的。一个好的设计师对一块地的 vision 可能和常人不一样，无形中就能创造出非常多的附加价值。